The title of this session was Confronting the Challenge of Building Sustainable Networks for Disaster Relief Recovery and Community Resilience. And a key aspect of what we were studying was community resilience. The first part of the session, there were 4 speakers, the first part of the session investigated trends in disaster losses. We've got exponentially increasing disaster trends in terms of losses. And part of the trends are related to the fact that we have a very different type of vulnerability compared to previous decades. The last few decades, we've become much more interdependent, much more highly connected as a society, such that the nature of our risk have changed. That means that a local action or a local entity can now have an impact on a global scale because of our highly interconnected nature. So the vulnerability and the nature of our vulnerability has changed quite a bit. And in response to that, what we have seen in many different fields are organizations of peers come together and form networks. These are stakeholders that can be government, local government, private companies, individuals that come together and form regional networks to address problems in a complex society. The heart of the driving mechanism, the heart of the problem, is because we have a complex world, and an increasingly complex world, and individual entities are typically not able to solve the problems alone. They tend to have to gather together in groups. What we're noticing is these groups are organically forming due to the need. And we call these alliances, there are several things, there are several words that we can use to describe them: cross-sectorial partnerships, multi-organizational alliances. It just means groups of stakeholders that come together that wouldn't normally come together to form these groups. A key aspect that we identified for these groups, and again, there are advantages that have been noticed for forming these groups in business and finance, in dynamic fields such as information technology. After 9/11 and the 2004 tsunami and Hurricane Katrina, we have seen these organizations more commonly formed in the area of disaster risk management. And that's where we're primarily focused studying at Virginia Tech, how these groups can be useful to increase community resilience in cases where they're used specifically for disaster risk management. The key feature that we noticed about these multi-organizational alliances is that they transcend traditional boundaries, because the solutions to the problems that we face in a complex world require complex solutions. So it requires solutions that we have to come together as a group, as a community, as an alliance and solve, where individual entities cannot solve them. So we have to truly be transdisciplinary in our approach to solving these complex problems of the 21st century. We cited examples of successful alliances. There are several in the United States. The All Hazards Consortium is an example. Hoke is United, which is a student-led group at Virginia Tech, which was instrumental in the recovery of the Virginia Tech community following the tragic 4/16 shootings. We also talked about Chicago First, which is an organization in the Chicago area, which is the most diverse financial market in the United States, how they have formed a local network of multi-organizational partners consisting of lenders from the banking community that were formerly competitors that have come together to make that community more resilient to disasters. The All Hazards Consortium is a mid-Atlantic consortium that consists of 9 states and hundreds of public and private partners focus around homeland security and disaster preparedness and response, and it's been incredibly successful. We use those alliances that have been successful to study what is it about them that made them form, what is it about them that made them sustain, what is it about them that made them effective, because we feel that we should focus more on building enabling communities and less on coordinating communities. We learned a hard lesson in Katrina that we need to focus less on coordination and more on building enabling communities that are ready to respond. And that's what the session was mainly about. Where we left it was discussing some research findings that we have that showed why certain groups were more effective in forming these partnerships. But we're really more interested in, since it's a very short time that these groups have formed in the last 4 or 5 years, we're very interested in factors that can promote their growth, that can translate the learning experience and the success they've had to other regions so that these groups can be formed, and also to understand what factors are important for their being sustained. But we feel that these groups, these multi-organizational alliances, offer incredible advantages to meeting 21st century community resiliency challenges.